Hey, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another House of the Dragon review, season 2, episode 8. And this one is called, actually, you're going to have to remind me, what was the name of this episode?
The Queen Whoever
The
Was.
Queen Whoever Was. Yeah, you have to. I never know the names of the episode. Okay, so before we start, I just want to say, everyone, sorry, life happens and sometimes you need a break, and sometimes that life happening and break happening doesn't come with warning. So we are back now this week. We wanted to finish off the season strong so we can go ahead and start in 3 million years. Whenever the next season is done, we can start fresh and give you guys weekly discussions about House of the Dragon. Um, so I guess before we start, just kind of tell me, what did you think overall? I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, what would you give this season finale?
Let's see. I would give it maybe 7.5.
Okay. I'm not even gonna, go against that. I was gonna give it like a solid 6.
Ooh. Why
Um,
so low?
I feel like it ended, it didn't, and maybe I'm wrong, but I did watch the episode again today just to make sure. But I feel like as much as I hate a cliffhanger, I almost wish they left us in a cliffhanger. Um, I think that what we've seen and just reading different discussions and kind of understanding what was going on, that people are complaining that this episode, or this season rather, was only 8 episodes, but apparently the showrunners wanted it to be 10. But it's HBO and the I guess the it wasn't in the budget. HBO gave them a budget and they said we're not budgeting for 10 episodes. We're
That
only budgeting for 8. I don't know if that's true. So allegedly, it's allegedly, but
is
from some certain things that I read, that's what is happening. That's what people are saying behind closed doors, that yeah, we already know you don't like 10 episodes, or you don't like 8 episodes, but this is what they gave us.
okay.
So I did feel like um it ended a little too cleanly for me, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like I have no anticipation for season 3, but I'm going to watch, obviously, and I think that season 3 has got to be jam-packed. I think that it lost some action. I think that there were everything was kind of, it wasn't a cliffhanger, but I feel like it was I don't know. Like, I feel like we didn't see Raina claim sheep stealer, which we all assume is what's going to happen.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, right? Because the last episode we had seen everyone and their mother claim a dragon. So to have that next season be like, or the next episode be like that, I can understand not going that route. But I
Hmm.
still feel like, I honestly, knowing what is supposed to be happening in season 3, I'm kind of like, okay, that actually could have ended in this way. But the other side of me is like, this could potentially set up season 3 to be similar to season 3 of Game of Thrones. Um, and you know what happened in season 3 of Game of Thrones, right?
Hmm.
The purple wedding, and I think the purple wedding happened in like episode 4, so it happened really early on in that season. So I feel like that's probably what's going to happen. We're going to see a ton of devastation in season 3, I think.
I think you're right. So I um I agree that there was no action at all in this episode.
Hmm.
And what I took from it is it was leading us up to season 3 being all about war and
Hmm.
conflict. Not as much dialogue, not as much like buildup of stories, because we have all most of the main characters, if not all of the main characters. Because I think this season it introduced new people to us, where maybe, I don't know, but maybe like season 3 and maybe in season 4, like, we don't we there's no story buildup that we need. The next season is just going to be, okay, we're setting it up. We see all of these different houses marching.
Hmm.
We know where they're marching to. So season 3 is going to be, packed with like battle scenes
Mhm.
and the fallout from that and losses, because we know how many seasons there are now. So we know season 3 is going to start. People are just going to start dropping off. So yeah, that's what I
Mhm.
think. And I was okay with it. I know a lot of people kind of was just like, what? That's it.
Right.
But we only got a certain amount of time and they had to fit all of this stuff in to kind of like lead us to this point. Like, at first I was like, okay, why do we need to be over here with the Lannister guy
Mhm.
um, and the people in Essos or wherever they are? But that kind of had to lead us up to them being on the ships at the end of the episode because that's one of the players in this as well. Like the dialogue with Corlys and his son, um, that had to lead us up to them getting on the boat, you know, which am I I was expecting to see them on one boat, but there to be like this array of boats behind them. But it looked like it was just Corliss and his son going to this one boat, and we see Thailand and what's the name of the guy, the person who
Admiral Lohar.
Admiral Lohar, and it's like, 20, 30, 50 boats, and I'm just like, okay, are we about to see Corliss and his son kind of go to their demise? Because we heard Lohar saying like tomorrow the sea snake is gonna rule the day,
Mm.
and they don't know what's coming, so
You're, you know what? I'm so glad you said that because I didn't catch that. And I've watched this
mm-hmm,
episode maybe 2 or 3 times already, or two and a
mm-hmm,
half, really. And I
mm-hmm,
didn't catch that. So I have to watch it back again. But that's a good
mm-hmm.
eye. And that is a good foreshadowing for the season to come.
Right. So it's got like devastation. We already kind of like, okay, where
Yeah, I feel like we almost have to walk into devastation in episode 1,
mm-hmm.
and we probably will. But I want to start in the beginning where you
Okay.
talked about, and you kind of mentioned it, where what's his name? Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
Tyland,
Mm-hmm.
right? Thailand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thailand Lannister is in, I think he's in Lease, um, which is Lisa's, I believe, is in Essos, but he is negotiating with the Triarchy. He wants ships, and for their ships, I think they said they want like 100 dragons per ship or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, we can't do that." And then the guy is like, "Okay, well then give us the stepstones."
Yeah.
Um, what did you think of those negotiations? What do you think of those negotiations? Those terms?
I think they have no weight because he hasn't gotten approval for it, but he has to go with whatever they say because they're at a disadvantage. So I think he's just going along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he was so quick to like agree to it when he hadn't really spoken to the crown. He hadn't talked to anybody in King's Landing to get their approval. He just was like, okay.
I think
So,
that's so you are it's so interesting that you have these things, you have these thoughts
mhm,
because I'm not it's not for this particular negotiation, and I will say if I am remembering correctly, it was not Thailand that was negotiating with the Triarchy in the book. So there's a lot of different changes. I was even a bit confused by Admiral Lohar's character because in the book there is somebody called, and I cannot remember the name, Rakilio Rindoon, I think. And Rakilio Rindoon in the book was someone who I thought was a gender bender, and so he went by the pronouns he, but he cross-dressed as a woman at times, and he was just a very giving person. So I was like, when I saw this character and just the way they were acting, it reminded me of Rakilio. But I'm like, wait, the person who negotiated with the Triarchy was not, like, the person was not Rakilio. So nevertheless, they're merging a lot of characters, as we've said before. Reina being the one to claim sheep stealer, which is probably going to happen, was was claimed by someone called the Nettles and not Reyna. So it looks like they're merging, getting rid of, kind of rewriting. I don't know if it's rewriting, but like making this story a little bit shorter, if you ask me,
Right.
by doing all of that, which I think is going to be interesting towards the end of the series. But nevertheless, yes, so we had the negotiations for the Septones. You're right. He had no, you either agree to the terms or you leave without
Or
shit.
you leave without anything. You don't have,
Right.
you come back empty-handed.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I will say, like, when I first, literally, when the theme music for and the credits like end and it takes us to the first scene, I was like, hold on, what in the Lion King is going on? When we see the little monkey at the, I was like, wait, is this a commercial already? Like, I was like, wait, but HBO doesn't have commercials. I was so confused when I first saw it. And then when I saw Thailand, I was like, oh, he's in wherever he is in Essos. So, anyway, that's just a thought that I had when I saw it. Okay, so I want to talk about Amond and him using Vagar to burn down Sharp Point. um I don't like Amond.
I don't either. And
And
I've
I,
been going up for him. I feel like since we started this, like I've just been like, oh well, amen. This, yeah.
well, and I get it, right? Because I do think that Amond was and is a good villain. But this is the thing that bothers me about Amond's character. His villain origin story just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I know I feel like a lot of people, for me, let me just say this. I was expecting a deeper, for me, for someone who has so much rage and hate in him, I thought his story, his villain origin story would be deeper. And I know I keep saying this, but it's like this guy, got made fun of by your older brother and sometimes humiliated by your older brother. Like, okay. That's kind of how I feel. Like, I'm like, we all have. Anyone with older siblings, you did the bullying and you got bullied. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, there's got to be more. You turned from this kid who was super loyal to the cause. And when you got the biggest dragon, you decided to wreak havoc and bully everyone else. It just, to me, I just hate that that is his villain origin story.
That little bit of story right there. But I mean, Nana,
Hmm.
in real life, we've seen young men, excuse me, wreaking havoc on, I'm sorry to say it, but schools,
I see it. Yeah.
malls, all
Yeah.
kind of things, simply because they're being picked on. All it takes is a certain type of character of a person and a little bit of bullying,
Mhm.
and a person will literally massacre, so
Mhm.
I can see it. Like, I know it just seems like, oh, that's not a lot, or that's not too much and all that kind of stuff, but it just seems typical to me.
Mhm.
He just seems like he's trying so hard to prove himself to be better. Like, it's like the second child syndrome. Like, I have to show I'm tougher, I'm better than the older child. Or because he was never picked. He was never somebody who was even looked at to ever even do anything or be anything. So I just think he's kind of overcompensating now, and he's taking it out on people who he feels like are inferior to him or smaller than him. And that's why we get um him pretty much obliterating a town, which was like, was it Sharp's Point, I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um and just the look in his eyes of just like feeling kind of like a little small win. It was so sickening to me, because the episode before, we saw him kind of like turning around, and we assumed he was terrified, but we kind of got our answer with this episode when Lara Strong was just like fleeing in terror.
Right.
So
I'm like, Laris is such, oh my God.
right, and even his mother, even Allison, was saying,
Right.
like, you feel you're ashamed because people see that you were terrified, like she one upped you, and so you have to take it out on the small folk. Like, it was just disgusting. It was disgusting to me. And it's like, without that dragon, what are you? What are you
No,
truly?
I agree, and I'm like and him burning down Sharp's Point was because he felt vulnerable. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has some psychological problems, and I'm not saying I don't feel sorry for him, because I really don't, to be honest with you. But that's not the big thing, because I do understand like people being bullied, and that having an effect on people, right? Or that
Mm-hmm.
having an effect on you, and we don't know who was bullying him, and we don't know if he was being bullied like after the whole thing with his eye happened. That could have been it too. Like people see him as someone who is cripple or whatever. I get that to a certain extent. um but yeah, I was just like, so you do that. It's really interesting to me how you have someone who is amongst the people, kind of, right, living in King's Landing,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always questioning. I feel like in this episode, and maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I feel like in this episode he's like, why are they mad at us? Or I'm like, bruh, you do not have your like pulse on the people and on the culture. Do you not see what it is that you're doing? Are you now going to question why you have more enemies after you burned down Sharp's Point? So it's things like that where I'm just like, for someone who thinks he's so smart, you're actually really stupid. And I think that's that's my problem, is that I think there's nothing more annoying to me than someone who believes that they are the smartest person in the room.
And they're not.
Right. And I think even if you are, you really are not, because you don't know everything. And I think that having an open mind and wanting to, not being silly like his dad, right, where it's like he's letting other people rule his kingdom, but it's taking in other people's wise counsel, and then making a sound decision on your own. And I feel like Aemond, this the small council is but a formality, and he's not there to listen. He's not there to like garner support or like different perspectives. He just thinks he has all the answers because he's convinced that he's the one that was supposed to be doing all of the ruling.
He's the one that's supposed to be a ruler. He wants the power. He wants to
Hmm.
be like the look at me, I'm finally on top, like that type of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's out of touch. Like, the blockade thing. I think you mentioned that, like when the guy was asking him, like, why would you do that to the people? Like they already hate us. How are they going to eat? And he's just
Hmm.
like, oh well, if they're gone, like if they're unalive, they won't be thinking about that anyway.
And so, and I don't think I'm giving anything away. And if I am, I'm sorry, but I don't remember this in the book. But I wonder, who is that guy? The guy who was talking to him and he was looking at him kind of like, oh my gosh,
I
he
don't know,
didn't
but
get
it's the
it.
same guy that Laris was talking to.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Mhm. He's on the council, though. He's on the council.
Yeah, he's on the council. I just cannot remember his name. But I was like, the look that he gave, it had me wondering, like, is this guy about to, be a turncloak? Because they're all seeing the era of Aemon's ways. I'm like, is he like plotting for, his demise? I don't know.
I don't know
Um,
either.
Especially since, I mean, we know at the end of, and we'll get to it, but we know at the end that Laris and Aegon said peace out to King's Landing.
Right.
But no, I thought it was like the Aegon and the Laris scene where, Laris tells Aegon that Aemond fled in terror, and he's basically telling him, we're in danger, you need to leave.
Like,
And
Aegon, we in danger, child.
yeah.
We gotta go. Like, yeah.
And so um yeah, it's still very interesting to me how Aegon, as someone, I guess he's just in so much agony and pain that he can't even think straight. But I'm like, you are sitting here, and I get it. You're like, okay, we need to bring him in front of the masses and like do away with him. But Laris made a valid point, and he says, okay, you do away with him, and now you don't have a writer for
The Aegar.
Vagar, and there's no other Targaryens to claim him. So what, I think it's like playing the long game, which is interesting, I think. And was it just Laris that
Yeah.
left with Aegon?
Yeah, well, because it was Laris's scheme.
Right.
So, yeah,
So
it was
so
protect.
Laris didn't tell anybody as far as we're concerned, right?
No, He didn't, because I was thinking that, because I rewatched it today as well, and I was thinking that at the end,
Mhm.
um, because we're going to get to it, but I came to the conclusion after the fact. I felt really slow because I hadn't thought about it in the beginning when I first watched it, but it was just like, oh, if he's not there, oh, this isn't good. And so yeah, he snuck off without telling anybody. They really just snuck off without telling anyone.
Mhm.
And rightfully so, because the fear is that the person that holds the most power is going to be coming after him. So you wouldn't tell anybody because you wouldn't
Mhm.
want their whereabouts to be known. So,
Couldn't tell his even his own mother.
yep,
Nothing.
right.
Which causes her to make to gamble with his life, and he's not even there. She,
He's not
for
even
her
there.
to,
Like
yeah.
the cards, like you gambling with money that you don't even have and you don't even know it.
Absolutely. This
Like
is so
the check
random.
hasn't cleared. Like, you get paid on Friday and you're gambling, but the check never clears.
And this is so random, but this reminds me of, oh my gosh, the book that I love, this book called The Alchemist. Have you read it
I
before?
did. I think you
Okay.
gave it to me. I
I
think
think I did. I give everyone that book. I really love it. It gives me inspiration whenever I read it. But
Mhm.
I feel like there is a moment when the main character, and look at me, I've read this book like 4 or 5 times and I don't know these people's names right off the top of my head right now, at least. It's been a few years, guys. But no, there was goodness, when the main character went to go see the, I don't know if she's a fortune teller, sooth, whatever she was, and she said, I guess he was supposed to be coming into some money in his fortune, and she said, you have to give me a certain percentage of it. Like, you have to promise it to me. And I think I remember when he met up with the king later on, right? Who was just sitting at some bench somewhere, and he like warned him to like not gamble with what you don't have in hand. I just thought that that's what it reminded me of.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's what she was doing.
Mhm.
But she had no way of knowing because her son pretty much is the word invalid? What is the word? Like he's literally like
Ugh.
just I don't know.
She just
That
knows
was
he's not supposed to be, and but it's so sad because, and we talked about this before, but it's like the actor that plays Aegon is so likable that he has made us, me, I'll
He
say
is
me, he's
hilarious.
made me like
He's a
Aegon and feel
horrible
sorry.
person, but I'm sorry, Nina. I'm sorry,
I
or
know. I
I'm
know.
sorry, like
I know.
this person who is so horrible, but I laughed when he was talking about his, you know what?
Oh God.
And he said words like a sausage. I know.
I was just like, my God, today. Like, can we move
Sausage. Oh,
on?
did it say on a spit or like a like it burned, like it
Mhm.
burst into flames like a sausage on a spit? And he was like, I can't even use the restroom.
I know. I was like, my goodness.
And it was coming at just like random times. It's like almost like he was not listening to the seriousness of Laris because it was like he just became in like he just it was like his mind just was on that. And it's like it was hilarious to
And I
me.
wonder what's going on in Laris's mind when he's hearing Aegon, like, say all of this. I'm
I
like,
don't think he paid it any attention. I think he was just focused on like I need to
get
get
this
you
guy
out of
out of
here.
here.
Right.
Right.
I need to really get you out of here because you're in danger. So
But I wonder, where do you go? I guess he did say they were going to what, Essos or
yes.
Pentos?
Bravos,
Bravos.
Bravos. His money is tied up there.
Okay. And so they're going to keep him. I don't know. But I'm like, how do you travel? I guess nobody really knows how, which is really interesting, right? You don't know how the king looks like unless you live in King's Landing and might have caught a
And
glimpse of him.
oh, well, let's just say he's deformed. His face is deformed as well right
Right.
now.
And
So
the people don't know that this is what happened to him,
right,
right?
they didn't say what happened to him. So he doesn't look like himself at all. He can easily like just be among the people because
But
right now he looks like they what did Laris call him, a cripple. This was Laris's words. Like he called him that, and that's pretty much what he is. And he can he can blend in more in this state, right?
but probably, but the thing that also makes it interesting to me is I'm like, what is the story that they're telling the realm, King's Landing, about Aegon. No story at all, and no one is willing to question what happened to the alleged king of the seven kingdoms. Like, I'm like, you're sitting here, and it's really six kingdoms because I don't think at this point Dorne is a part of the seven kingdoms, but
Yeah,
whatever.
it's just six.
Right. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, there's a prince regent, that being Aemond, but we're not, no one is questioning what happened to Aegon. Not even the small people. I
Some
thought
people don't care. They're starving. And
that's
they've been locked in
that's
inside
true.
of the gates. They don't care about who's ruling over at whatever time because they're starving.
Well, you know what? I actually think they, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that it was that one scene where Aemond was he said to close the gates and no one leaves King's Landing. I
Mhm,
want to say that there was there was like a quick moment in time where someone was like, Aemond, when they were like, Aemond, Prince Regent says to keep the door or to
mhm,
close the gates or something. So I take that back. There might have been some questioning in that way, I guess,
mhm, mhm.
um, for that. But that was interesting to me. Okay, so I want to move quickly on, and I'm going like scene by scene because there was stuff here, but there really isn't. To be, if we're going to be honest, this really didn't leave us with much this episode. But Raina's on the run, and this bothers me.
Raina is on the run.
Yeah.
Raina is on the hunt. Raina is not on the run.
Okay, I
Raina
like
is on the
that.
hunt.
Raina's on the hunt.
Mhm,
Yeah, and it bothers me because I'm like, how is it that you guys are able to hop on a ship and go to Pentos, right? They're headed to Pentos. She was
mhm,
born in Pentos and they're headed to Pentos. Oh my gosh, I'm just putting two and two together. Remember when Reina and Bela were in Pentos with their mother and their dad? And
mhm.
there was that one man who said, if you stay here, like they'll give them so much money and castles and all of that stuff. And Damon wanted to stay, and Lena, said no.
Yes,
My
we want to
my
go home.
life is in Westeros.
Mhm.
I wonder if that's the man who agreed to accept them.
It probably was, but who knows?
And now I just don't know because I'm terrible with names, especially on the television show. And I told you I wasn't. In order to keep up with names in the book, you got to write it down or like whatever. And I wasn't doing all of that.
They
So
better not
never.
have left them dragons with that lady in the veil neither. I don't care. I don't like her.
Yeah, me neither. But I'm still like y'all. So when are we going to say that there is a princess? This is the king's daughter, the king regent. Hold on, what is it? The
King consort.
king consort. There we go.
Castellan Strong is consort.
Consort. The king consort's daughter. We don't know where she is. Are you kidding me? The lady of the veil didn't think that it was important to make sure that everyone hopped on the ship.
That
Like,
wretched lady
okay,
turned her back and closed that gate fast. That's
I
why
know,
that's why Raina took off because she looked back and saw that they closed the gate already and she took off.
and I would be so upset with her, but yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, she is Reina is on the hunt and she is thirsty and drinking. I was like, this is really getting off topic now. But when I saw her drinking the water from the river, I was like, dang girl, she knows where the clean water is. Like, I
I
was
don't think she even cared if it was clean or not. She was so
no,
thirsty.
but you can get sick, but if you drink water from the wrong source. So I was like, okay, this is a river. Isn't that a river? I'm like, okay, so
Like a stream. It was like a
stream
little
or
something.
something. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, she knows, she's done her, it just reminded me of like Girl Scouts. I'm like, she's done her, her research and she knows where to go to get the clean water. I don't know. That's honestly what I thought when I saw that. So yeah, okay, so we're there. And then the next scene that we get to, I'm just gonna say this, and because this guy really does like get on my nerves, but Off White is nasty work.
Oh,
I
is
He's a clown.
he's a clown. I think he got on everybody's nerves. Um he to me seems like one of those dude bro, like yeah, beer in the hand, like those type of people. And it points out to me just like the different class levels that we're dealing with,
Mhm.
and how people who aren't born into anything don't have a true like, what am I trying to say? Like a true like standing in this world, how differently they act, appear, behave around people who actually do have that like decorum, they're royal, so they're of a certain class. It's the like the two dynamics of how the two classes act. And although we do kind of think he's clownish and he's a fool and all these types of things, like I feel like for most people, um even in like in today's time, right?
Mhm.
If we're talking about like somebody from where I'm from Mobile, Alabama, right? If we're talking about people who are from Alabama going to the to London and going and sitting at the king's table,
Mhm.
how would I expect somebody like from the lower class to act in the presence of a king?
You said you expected it?
No, I'm saying how would I expect for them to act? Now, would they
Mhm.
act exactly like this man? No. But a certain I know certain people, like certain characters of people who probably would, just because it's their character. They are just clumsy with the tongue. They are just like, arrogant for no reason, and not really knowing their place, or coming from a place where you get to speak your mind and you don't have to kind of like deal with the pleasantries of everything. And I think that just has to do with the class system that they are in. And when you're from a certain background, you don't really have decorum. Like you don't.
No, I disagree. I disagree. I feel like the way in which Alf walked into the situation is very reminiscent of someone who has power. Like I feel like think about how Daemon walks into a room. Now granted he's not, drunk and, eating everything off the table. He's not like that, but he walks with a sort of confidence. So I'm like I feel like a lot of people who may not understand how to operate in those type of environments, they might kind of watch before
Hmm.
they interact, and I'm like this
Like the other
guy,
guy, like the
right,
other
like the other guy, Hugh,
Hugh Hammer.
and
Yeah.
Hugh, in my opinion, has a sort of like quiet confidence. Like
Mhm.
even when dealing with Jace, and I was like, okay, well, I feel like it might even be difficult for him to show deference to a boy. Like he's a man, Hugh was a man, and I have to show deference to this boy Jace. But it's like, and I could kind of see in the very little time that he was on screen how he was struggling to do his best to show deference
Mhm.
to the prince. But I'm also like, to me, I felt like he did it with class still.
He did. But you know what he said? Remember what he said to Jace? Forgive him. He doesn't have like I can't remember the wording, but pretty much saying he doesn't have good sense, or he doesn't he hasn't been in the presence of royalty
Mhm.
often to know how to behave or how to act.
But I'm like, for me, it doesn't even you don't even need to be in the presence of royalty. Just be in the presence of a regular human being to whom's house you're visiting. You know? So I'm like, we at baseline people, and I know not everyone, guys. I know everyone is not like raised the same or whatever, but I'm like on a base level, when you go to someone's house, you don't put your feet on top of their table. When you go to someone's house, you don't act like you run the place.
But then
You know?
everybody does not know, everybody isn't taught that, and especially in certain, like when you come with from certain backgrounds, everybody doesn't have that.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And so
But
you're dealing with two different types of people. You're dealing from people with the same with two people from same class system. Even though we can kind of say Hugh Hammer, even though he came from that, he
right.
was raised by a royal because his
Right.
mother was a royal. So
Right.
he may have a little bit more training. Whereas you're dealing with someone who he has no ties to anything royal. He doesn't know any better, and he is somewhat of a fool. So he's gonna behave in a different way because he doesn't know any better.
Yeah, I
He
think
does
it's I
not
think it's
know
the
that
fool part. I think
if
he
you're
is a fool.
if you're not if
Yeah.
you're not taught like how to handle yourself, you're not gonna know. And it's a lot of people, and I like I said, I feel it's just my opinion. I feel like it is a like they're breaking down of the two classes of people that we are seeing on the screen.
But you know what? I think it has less to do with class and more to do with now he thinks that he's their equal. Because
So that's
remember
the
when he
foolish
was at
part.
the
Yeah.
bar,
Yeah.
remember when he was at the bar talking about, oh, he has Targaryen blood in him, and then King Aegon walks up while he's talking about him. He stands up, all hail King Aegon. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, but now when you are, you there's a seat at the table for you, you put your feet on it. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I think it's more so in his mind, he's like, we are now equal. And he did say something like to that effect to Jace,
Hmm.
basically to say,
We
oh,
both
his
have
hair,
dragons, right?
right? We both
Yeah.
have dragons. We basically the same at this point in time. So I don't need to show deference to anybody. I don't need to do
Right.
anything
Who's
for
to tell
anyone.
us that we're not Targaryens too, huh?
Right.
That's what he
Hmm.
said when he touched his hair. That was so disrespectful.
So disrespectful.
Like, but he does like he's just a fool and he doesn't know any better.
Hmm.
And I guess I've just ran into people who are just foolish and don't know any better.
Hmm.
More than I have like the other type. Like I have run into people like people like, that just kind of know to be quiet, and he just does not know
Right.
when to be quiet. And it's just the ego and like the fact that you feel like you are somebody now because you have this dragon.
Hmm.
It's kind of interesting how these dragons affect these men, because we talked earlier about how Vagar affected Aemon,
Hmm.
and it's like now you see how this dragon made a foolish man even more foolish, to the point where he feels like he is on the same level with
Hmm.
a prince.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Very much so. Okay. We go to the next scene. Rhaena and Lord Corlys. Excuse me, not Rhaena, Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Rhaenyra and Lord Corlys. And oh my goodness, Rhaenyra is getting on my nerves. Um,
Why is shaking on your nerves?
she's talking to Lord Corlys, and I feel like she's getting on my nerves. Is because I'm like, I feel like her, goodness, what's the word I'm looking for? Her resistance for the inevitable is annoying. I am like, you guys are going to fight. Why do you think, and do you really think that someone like Aemond is going to sit back and let you take the seven kingdoms, regardless of if you have six dragons? I'm just like, girl, go ahead and do it now while these people are running scared and not don't
Right.
have a plan. Versus, I think she said to Lord Corlys that she was hoping that now that he knows that that she has dragons, that
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 he would
will
just
serve
back
as
off and
a
bow down.
deterrence, right? And I was like, girl, if you don't go ahead and take this throne and fight fire with fire, I'm just kind of like, this Lord Corlys lost his wife in battle. So where are the Avengers? Like that's what I'm thinking. Where are the Avengers? Like we're just gonna sit and be okay with that and just wait and see what happens. I'm like, girl, we have waited and tried to see what happens for so long. Like, go take what's yours. So that's kind of how I felt. But tell me, what are your thoughts on that scene? I think she did mention, obviously like they have some idiots who are riding the dragons, but they are acclaimed. What are his thoughts on Adam of Hull?
I think that I too share just like your okay girl. You keep
Mhm.
trying to say you don't want to fight, but you know the inevitable. You see what happened to your son, you see what happened to Rhaenys, you see what, or even heard what he did to the, I don't know if she even knows what he did to Aegon, but it's like, let's do this. I like the scene because I loved that Corliss was giving her good counsel and telling her what to do, and basically kind of like slapping her out of her little haze that she was trying to place over her eyes to say, oh, I hope, let's wait to see, and all this type of stuff. And he's like, no, girl, it's time to fight. It's time to, like, uh go there now. Don't let too many days fly. Like, do what you need to do. You got the dragons, you got the upper hand. Do what you need to do. And also bring it to her attention, like, you need to be, even though you do have the upper hand, he does have another dragon that he
Mm-hmm.
could possibly call upon. And there's another player in your estranged husband. So, you it's setting up, like, it's gonna happen. You got to get your mind ready for it to happen, because you're gonna have to fight for this. It's not gonna be something that's gonna be handed over to you. You're gonna have to fight for it. So I like the scene. I like that he was telling her the truth, um, to kind of get her out of her days. I feel like she was just in the days of, like, okay, I've gotten the upper hand. He sees that I have more dragons. Hopefully he'll just submit. He's not going to submit. It's not going to be,
Mm-hmm.
So I like the scene.
Yeah, I liked it too. I also like the unveiling of the name of the ship. Um, but I'm also thinking too little, too late. Like, okay.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we always tend to appreciate people once they're gone. I'm like, what about when they were here? But
She
whatever,
was
we get
very
it. You're ambitious.
young.
You're
Right.
young. All of that. So got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I thought it was very interesting too that we learned that Caraxes likes pigs
Oh,
going
I
into
was,
the next episode.
you do you know what I said when I when that part came? I
What?
said, yeah, I knew that was a black dragon. Loving the swine.
He
Um,
said Caraxes prefers pigs. We know everyone. I don't. I actually don't consume pork. I don't think you do either anymore, right?
I stopped. I started back though recently. I stopped
Okay.
for like a year and a half, but yeah,
We know not everyone,
the
not all black
swine.
people eat swine. I don't.
Right.
I'm
But
sure
I
others
did think
don't.
that,
But
sorry, I did think that
he
was
was like he
the first
prefers
thing
pig anyway because they're like we don't have any
about.
sheep.
I said, Caraxes is from the South. He's definitely a black
But
dragon.
you know what? I also thought it was cute. I'm like, you know what your dragon prefers.
Hmm.
Like I was just like, oh, he doesn't. You know, he doesn't like sheep like that. He prefers. I'm like, what is the thing? What is Caraxes gonna do? Not gonna eat if you give him a sheep? Or is he gonna pick at it? Is he gonna devour it if he's really hungry? Like, what's gonna happen? I
He
don't
gonna
know.
eat it. He
I
just don't
know.
prefer it.
I know. I just thought it was funny when that happened. Okay, but we this is like probably and if you had to watch closely to catch it, and we actually watched this scene together. And this is the scene where Sir Alfred Broom or Brom, whatever his last name is, he says that he sent as an emissary to from Rhaenyra to go see Daemon. And as they head into the Godswood, and this is in the area of the what's that tree called? Um Help me out.
The weirwood tree.
Where there we go. And you hear a whisper.
Yes.
And while Sir Alfred Broom is in there, he's like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? I know a lot of viewers didn't hear it or didn't know what it was saying.
I did,
And
because we saw, if you had, like,
closed
if you
captioning.
haven't watched it, or if you didn't hear it the first time, go back and put on your closed captions, and you will see it. It comes up exactly when they say it, and just rewind it. And if you like turn up your volume, you will hear it. Because the first time I saw it, I didn't hear it, but I saw the closed captions, and so I rewinded it, and that's when I heard it. I was like, "Oh wow, is it the tree?
Right.
Was that the tree? Was it the wind?"
Was it the wind? Was it Alice Rivers? We haven't seen her. So who was it?
Hmm.
I thought it was very interesting, but the word that we heard was traitor. So go back and
Mhm.
listen to that particular scene. But it says traitor in the simplest of words, and he's just like, "Did you hear that?" And here go Damon. This place will have you going mad, basically. So I think that that is very interesting, and could potentially be foreshadowing to what is to come. And actually, no, we kind of know what was to come, because he's over here talking to Damon, telling Damon, uh, basically that you need to be king. Isn't that the
Yeah,
conversation that they had
that's
out in the
basically what it
Godswoods?
was. And do you want to know something? I'm glad that Damon was like, I didn't take you for a turncoat.
Mm,
Kind of let him know, like, I see you.
mm-hmm.
You're a turncoat. Instead of just jumping on and being like, yeah, you're right. He's just like,
Right.
I wouldn't take you for a turn.
Well, because and this is where we have to give Damon some credit. Remember when he was with child, I don't even remember the man's name, but the little boy who turned into the big kid, who was like, not the big kid, but basically he Damon had to like take him out because the little Lord Tully was like, he had committed atrocities. Blacken is
Blackwood,
no, he wasn't the Bracken, he was
Black
the
the Blackwood, Black.
Blackwood. Yeah, there we go. He was the Blackwood. And remember when they wouldn't bend the knee, and we saw the close up of Caraxes behind them, and Damon didn't burn them, and he was basically like, no, you need people who are who are people of their word, basically. And that's why he didn't get rid of the Brackens, right? I think it's the Brackens, because when he said, come my way or Dragonfire, and they said, we choose I think he actually said, we choose Dragonfire.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, so Damon is not dumb. Like, he understands, which is going back to the excuse me, the gold cloaks, the city guards, what is it called? The city watch.
The City Watch.
Right. And I think Damon understands the importance of loyalty, which is interesting because he was going to be disloyal to his woman. But, I think with other people, he understands the importance of loyalty. And so I'm wondering, moving forward into this next season, if he's going to be looking at Sir Broom, whatever, Alfred Broom, with a side eye,
I
because
don't
he's
think
like
that
that.
man is
You
going
know,
to make it past the first episode, to be honest with you.
who? Brom.
Whatever, the traitor.
We'll see. We'll see.
I don't
And
think
then obviously it was so beautiful to see Sir Simon, the Castellan of Harrenhal.
favorite.
He
I
sees him
told you, I
talking.
was like, he's my favorite, one of
Uh-huh.
my favorite characters of this season.
Absolutely. He sees them talking and he's like, hold up. No, there's some treachery going on, and I need to tell the queen.
There's some
Um,
treachery afoot. Let
I
me
know.
get a raven.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely love that. Yes, he is. I'm like, please keep him as long as possible. But you know how that Game of Thrones world will do. But I'm like, can you please keep him long as possible, because this guy is just so
I want him. He
weird.
needs to be like on the council if he can be.
Absolutely, just keep him longer, guys. Okay, going on to the next scene. I think we talked about this already. This is the scene where I told you that one guy on the council is telling Aemond that what did he say?
I can't
Oh,
remember.
yes, yes. He said about the Targaryen dragon seeds. I think he told him, right, that it's actually true, that there was rumor that not Daenerys child, um Rhaenyra was recruiting dragon seeds, and he said close, basically, no, not even fishing boats can come through. And that's when we talked about this already, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
councilman was saying that if there are no fishing boats, the people can only eat fish, they have no meat, they're going to starve. And he's like, well, it's better, they won't need any food if they're killed.
They're
And I'm
gone.
like, the thing is, it's interesting, I'm like, no, bruh, they want to get you, like, they want you, the people are your shield. So yeah, I just thought that that was an interesting perspective. We already talked about it, but just to kind of see that this is Aemond is so out of touch with the people.
Hmm.
Um, And then I think we get to the scene where Amon enters the room where his mother and Helena are sitting, and basically tries to force her to recognize her birthright and get on a dragon and fight.
Well, let's talk about before he came
Okay.
in, because there was a conversation that I feel like maybe not as important, but it is to me, just because we see kind of like Allison in a different light.
Mm,
And just as like this whole season from the first time I came on here, I've been kind of a little bit pro Amon. I've really gone in hard on Allison. But like this episode, this conversation with Helena was one of the first times that I kind of like she was making sense. And it was kind of like a self drag in the beginning when Helena asked like, why do they hate us so much? And she was just like, oh, you know, um, when people are miserable or something like that, they just latch on to somebody to hate. And
mm-hmm,
to me, I feel like that was a self drag for her,
mm,
because that's the way that she handled Rhaenyra. Like she latched on to somebody that to hate because she was miserable in her marriage, in her life, in her duty that she had to uphold because of her father. And so she latched on and not only made it her duty to hate Rhaenyra, but also turn her kids, mainly her sons, against Rhaenyra and her kids. So that was kind of self drag, but it made it. She was speaking facts as to why they don't like them, and also we saw that she kind of was trying to give Helena a out and like saying like, what if we went away from here? What if we left? And of course that was right before Eamon walked in. But I just thought that was interesting because I was just like, okay, get her out, because I mean that's in all the comment sections, that's what everybody has been saying for a while, for a few episodes, like get Helena out of there, like she's innocent, like she's pure, she doesn't deserve this, she doesn't deserve the greens
mm-hmm,
fate and all that. And it's like Allison is kind of like giving her this out. Um, and Allison, it seems we talked about it in the last episode when we were talking about how she kind of went out into the woods and she went into the water and she kind of had her time to be away and be free and be one with herself. And I feel like Allison has kind of gotten and she mentions it, we're going to talk about it a little bit in soon, but uh she wants out. And it's like, okay, of course you want out now, now that your son's dragon is outnumbered, now that your other son is kind of like incapacitated, like of course now you want out. But I like that Allison is being a mother,
mm-hmm,
which we haven't seen her being, and like doing what she needs to do to finally protect her children in a way. Um, so that leads up to Eamon coming in. Like she mentions, "What if I can get you away from here?" And Helena's like, "Well, where would we go?"
mm-hmm.
Here comes Eamon. In walks Eamon.
And wants Amen. And Eamon is just again out of touch. He grabs his sister and is like, "You need to get on this dragon and let's go. We gonna do this right now. We have no plan." Like I just think that, and I was so happy to see, as I feel like any mother would do, but just kind of Allison handle Eamon and just really tell him what he needed to hear, that even though he's not listening, like, my goodness, you're a maniac. Like your
Hmm.
feelings get hurt and you want to burn down the world. Like you think you are fit for this, but you're not. I appreciated seeing her, and when she hit him, I was happy. I was like, do it again. I wanted to see her go all out and see what he's gonna do.
And she did it in defense of her daughter too. And
Absolutely,
it's like
absolutely.
you're trying to do this to your sister who needs your protection more than anything.
Right.
And you're trying to corrupt her and turn her into this thing. And I feel like that was kind of like a shining moment for Allison as a mother, because she was right, and she stood up to this maniac who, we don't know like how far he would go. We see how he, you notice how he even addressed his mother it was kind of like very in front of mother,
Mm.
like almost kind of like you got issues with her. So it's kind of like she knows she's not in his good graces. She knows that he doesn't want her there, but she stood up to him, knowing how crazy he is, knowing that he doesn't have a what do you call it, like he doesn't he we don't know how far he will go, so I appreciated Allison in that moment for calling him on his stuff, and she's been kind of doing it, but I appreciated her for standing up for Helena and saying, not this way, not like this. You're not
Mhm.
going to get my daughter. You're not going to take my daughter, you know? But, Nina, we talked about this too. It kind of made me a little fearful for Helena.
Oh yes.
And we talked about this,
Oh
and I
yes.
mentioned this because how quickly he left, and even after the other conversation they had, but before that conversation, even I thought, I'm like, he needs a dragon and he's desperate. How could he take Helena's dragon by getting rid of Helena?
Mm.
And that was my fear. Like if he's a psychopath, which he's revealed himself to be, like that would probably be his only option at this point.
That
Because
is a good point. And but my thing is that is he going to play um Rhaenyra's game and try to find anyone who can, like, I think everyone says that, and I've heard different like theories, but I'm like, there's no more Targaryens.
there's no more. So he
There's no more true blood. I guess that's what they're
right.
calling them, right?
And
True
he
blood.
he seems to be more of a loyalist, where he doesn't feel like it's right to have, you know, illegitimate
Right.
riders on the dragons. So I don't know. Maybe, I mean, that, I guess I didn't even look at it like that. Maybe wouldn't be able to find anybody else because there is no one else to ride the dragon. So
Right, like, I'm just confused, like, are you fighting fire with fire in that you are willing to look for someone like Rhaenyra did, whomever, to get on it, or are you I just don't see what their I don't see what the end game is, so I think that when you mentioned that, I was like, "That's really interesting." Yeah, everyone's in danger now, everyone's in danger, um, everyone's in danger. I don't know if
yeah,
there's anything else to say other than that.
everyone's in danger
Mhm.
from Damon, from Aemon.
I did not care for the scene, but I'll mention it, and if you have anything to add, then we can talk about it. But the mud fight,
Oh, we don't.
okay, yeah, I
Nothing of
honestly
significance.
did not need to see that,
Nothing of significance with that. That was just like a filler, which we didn't need. I don't know.
which is why this is why I didn't like this episode. I liked it, but this is why I got a 6 because I'm like, um, why did we need all of that? Like, I don't know. Okay, so moving on. I didn't really hone in too much on the scene if I'm to be honest, but I put it in my notes in case there's something that I missed. But when Jace and Bela are talking, just them together, I really do like Bela for
Mhm,
him. I feel like Bela is that person who speaks life into him, and gives him maybe a different perspective, right? So she's the one
mhm,
who I feel like is campaigning for Rhaenyra, when Jace is sometimes critical of his mother.
mhm.
So I just
Like
kind of
him to
like
get
I
the
like to
different
see
side.
scenes with them because I do feel like she is his safe space, even when his own mother isn't,
Yeah.
in a different way from his own mother, which is beautiful because I'm like, this is his betrothed, like this is his wife
Mhm.
to be, and I'm like, you guys are really like
Good
demonstrating how this
together.
is supposed to work.
Mhm.
So anything you wanted to say?
No, I appreciated the scene and how she was telling him what was right to do, which is to go and be by your mother's side.
Mhm.
Because all of this stuff that you're thinking about doesn't matter. It's pretty much you are um diminishing yourself and making everything about the dragons when you need to show these people who you are. Like, nobody cares. She pretty much in that conversation admitted that, like, yes, she knows he's not like a true born, like she knows that, you know, he's not Lenore's son, but that doesn't matter at this point. You
Right.
are there, like, just stand up, pretty much stand up. So
But I
I
also think that what Jay says is valid, and a part of me is like, no one is listening to him, and I get it. But you're right. I mean, while he might be right and no one is listening, this is about survival at this point.
It is. It's not about your pride and your issues with your mother and her decisions and things that happened to you or was said to you growing up. At this point in time, y'all are just trying to get on the Iron Throne.
Right.
Because if y'all can't do that, if you can't get there, y'all, I mean, what is it all for? You think about this stuff after the fact.
Mhm.
But like for now, you need these people that's in this room at this table with your mom. Like you gotta suck it up and go stand by your mom.
Right. And not only do you need these people, it's too late. The dragons are claimed. Let's move on. I
The
mean,
dragons claim them.
okay, that part, that
That's
part.
that's the biggest part of it all that we're leaving out, that Jace doesn't even understand, because he got a dragon when it was an egg. So he doesn't understand. But at the end of the day, the dragons claim them and you can't fight the dragon. Like you know, you don't have the final say in this at the end of the day.
And
Like,
I'm pretty sure Jace's dragon is smaller than the other two, so you're still probably
way
going to
smaller.
lose.
It's a baby. Like,
Right.
way
Compared to the,
smaller.
I think, so I'm also thinking another thing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't believe anyone other, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone other than Rhaenyra. Like Rhaenyra saw the situation between Vermithor and Hugh, correct?
Hmm.
So she saw the dragon claim him. No,
Hmm.
nobody saw the dragon claim a sea smoke claim Adam of Hull.
Hmm. Nope.
Nobody saw um
Silverwing claim all.
Silverwing, right, claim Ulf. So I'm like, you don't really know how this is or this goes. Or maybe they do, because hold on, let me think about it. Because they didn't see Vagar claim what's his name? Amond.
Daemon.
So a lot of these people probably didn't see how this could potentially work, and I think it was the first of its time where the dragon is seeking you out, because maybe it's one of those things where the dragons lived in the caves, were flying around, and then they presented the prince or princess to claim the dragon, then it worked out or it didn't.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, but I don't think they've ever seen the dragon just be like, you right there, I want you,
Yeah.
you're worthy. And so yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of it's complicated, I think, even for people who assume that this is a part of their bloodline, or in the case of Jace's situation, half of his bloodline. um let's see. Okay, so I want to go to the supper.
Supper. That's so cute. I don't hear people say supper
I
a
know,
lot.
I was gonna say the last supper, but I'm like, you guys, this isn't the last supper, so let's
It
not do
is with
that.
the Last Supper. It's
But this is the supper, the time where Rhaenyra calls, what are these people? The dragon, the new dragon riders, and Bela and Jace to the table to have dinner with these folks.
Hmm.
And Ulf yet again is insufferable. I honestly, in real life, I would probably be Jace. Like I would, the way Jace was reacting to them, I would probably be him. Or even Adam. See, this is the other thing I'm talking about. Adam of Hull didn't act like that.
Mm-mm.
And Adam is, he has he has ambition, and he didn't act like that. Hugh, I'm sure he, again, I'm sorry, it's just very annoying. And I really wish someone would threaten him. I know that's bad, guys. I know it's bad, but I really do. I'm just like, you guys, it's not
But
enough.
Jace did.
I know, but I want somebody to
Jace
bring the swords out.
Jace told him, because at the end of the day, guess what? you can be a dragon rider all day long, but if you're unalive, it doesn't matter. That
Right.
dragon's gonna have to find another person.
And that's what
And
I'm saying. And
Jace
that
has
would
the
be my
power to
thing.
have you take your head off. So you need to calm down, you know.
And that's what I'm thinking. I want one of the knights I want Rhaenyra and where's Damon? Where is
Like,
Damon?
because at the end of the day, though, let's be honest, though, for real, I just thought about this. Jace, if you're gonna do something, you better do it while he's sitting in that room, because if he gets to his dragon before you and you get to your dragon, his dragon will take your dragon down in a
But the
second.
thing is, will he? Because he
Yeah,
doesn't even know what he's doing.
he doesn't, but his dragon is way bigger, so he doesn't have to know. All that dragon has to do was come at him on that dragon
I know,
in
but
a threatening way.
he hasn't learned the commands.
But do we
to
have
even-
but guess what? It doesn't matter, Nana, because
Does
guess
it?
what? No, because at the end of at the at the end of last season, we saw somebody who was trained to ride a dragon try to tell his dragon what to do after that dragon got tested. And
Fair.
that dragon did not listen, because
Fair.
all you have to do was come at a dragon in a threatening way and it's over. Silverwing is probably like two sizes bigger than the dragon that Jace is on.
But I'm also thinking, I wonder if because Silverwing hasn't had a rider since I forgot her name, the conciliator king's wife, the
Life.
queen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, does she even know how to fight anymore? I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, does she
She's
even
still a
like
dragon, so it doesn't.
right?
And she's older, and she probably is a little bit more battle tested than even of course than Jace's dragon,
But
because it's still a baby.
it's been 60 years since she's had a rider.
It doesn't matter, because
Does
how
it?
long has it been since Vermithor has had a rider?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
And
I mean,
Vermithor gets busy.
right, Vermithor, you're right. But I'm also like, you guys need to do these dragons. They like you and they chose you, but do they know when someone is threatening you? Or do they have that connection with you in the same way that Cyrax has with Rhaenyra?
Well,
You know what
on
I
the
mean?
I don't think they have that connection. Well, I guess I don't know, because if you imprint, I think it's like the similar with imprinting. When the dragon imprints on you, like how much
But
connection
but
do they have?
but
But
imprinting is different because imprinting is like you just hatch and you're the first thing I see and I'm attached to you.
well, is that
That's
true? Because I've heard like animals imprinting on people when they were fully grown, but they just imprint on you, and it's like you're inseparable. I don't know, but I will say this. This is what I'll say. It doesn't even have to be a situation where they're threatening, like Jace is threatening off. It just has to be a situation where Jace is on his dragon, Ulf is on his dragon, and Jace flies at Ulf in a threatening manner. That's all it's gonna take. Like, that's the whole point of it all. Like, you step into a dragon that's 2 times your size in a threatening manner, and you're trying to take out my rider who I chose.
Mhm.
It's over for you. Barbecue. So if Jason's gonna do something, he's gonna need to do it before this guy can get to that dragon. That's
Mhm.
all I'm gonna say. Like,
No, I agree with you. I
don't
agree.
let him
Like
get to the
we're on level playing field, but until we get to that dragon
Yeah,
pit and get on our
once you get on your
dragon,
dragon,
yeah,
there's not much I can say. There's
right.
not much that even Rhaenyra can say. Maybe Rhaenyra's dragon could take on Ulf's dragon, but Vermithor, nah.
But and that's why I'm like I would like to see Rhaenyra and or Daemon seriously warn this guy. And I feel like
It's gonna take
Daemon,
Daemon. It's gonna
someone
take
who has seen into the future and is like, there is more at stake than your pride and your position in this world. So you get with it or get lost.
Nana. Oh my gosh. Just imagine Damon finding out about this freaking off.
I know. I'm already like, well,
I
what
don't
can you
even
do?
think, I feel like Damon is gonna be pissed. He's gonna be pissed more than Jace.
Yeah, because it seems like Damon has a thing against illegitimates.
And this person is supposedly Damon's brother.
Lord, is hold up, wait. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Oh my gosh, he's literally gonna be like brother when he sees Damon. He's a long lost brother. Boy, if you don't get your hands off of me, like, I'm like, that's what I'm like.
Oh,
Maybe because he sees Jace as not being a true Targaryen with his dark hair, and Rhaenyra is a woman, so you're not respecting her because we all know how people feel about women.
mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm like, maybe if Damon comes into the picture, like maybe Ulf will at least fake it,
I
like fake
like
it.
Ulf might be the first one to go. I haven't read the books, but like Damon may take him out just for just claiming to be his daddy's child.
Lord have mercy. That is going to
Oh,
be see, and now see everybody talking about Damon, and I'm like, even I was talking about Damon, but I'm like really excited to see Damon now that he's out of the werewolf
man.
woods.
Right.
I
Oh, but
am.
we haven't even gotten to that part though.
Oh, we're getting there. We're
Okay.
getting there. But before we get to the werewolves, we have to talk about the message that Queen Rhaenyra received from
Yes.
Sir Simon the Castellan of Harrenhal.
Mr. Tea Time with Sir Castellan.
Tea time with Sir Castellan. He said, "Queen, there's some treachery going on,
There's
and
some treachery afoot.
treachery is afoot. We need you to bring your dragons and
Get here
come
now.
hither and see what's going
Now.
on." And so Queen Rhaenyra is on her way to Harrenhal, but before she arrives is um when we see Daemon gets to touch the weirwood tree,
Can
right?
I ask you something?
Ask.
So when we talked before, you
Mhm.
mentioned that you thought that maybe what's her name? Alice Rivers
Mhm.
and Damon had like
I
a
did. I
relationship. And I was saying like I don't think so. I don't it doesn't fit because of just they're both clothed. Like whenever they show any kind of scenes like that, at least one of them will be kind of like half dressed or something like that. And
mhm.
the way that she was sitting there and she was crying. I don't know if when you rewatched it, if you noticed,
I
she
didn't see
had
that.
tears, huh?
I did not see that she was crying, so I have to watch that back.
Yeah, she had tears in her eyes when she looked over and he said the thing like, "Oh, do you never sleep?" And she looked over, you could see she had tears, and she was like, I'm going to the, I don't know
Did
what
she say something along the lines of like "you're ready now" or something
she said that when they were walking. She was like,
when they were walking?
you got here, you something, but she was like, I feel like now you're ready. You're at the point where you're ready. And she even said something and she was like, you didn't scoff. And he was like, I don't feel like at this point I'm not going to. And she kind of made a face like, yeah, now I know you're ready to
Mhm.
see what you need to see. Like the whole reason why all this stuff has been happening to you.
So and I know we're already like an hour plus in, but we do have to there's a lot of important stuff in here, and we talked about also some of the things that we were kind of um hypothesizing
Mhm.
about this Damon's dream. But yes, he goes out. I did say that I think that there was some sort of intimate relationship between them. And I think it's because of that scene. And I think it's also stated in the book that he did have some sort of intimate relationship with her. How would those people know? I don't know, but that's what was hinted at. So that's kind of why I made that connection.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, yes, so he's in the God's woods. While he's walking, we see some antlers,
Mhm.
and we see some antlers. I don't really know what the purpose of that was, and I think we did some research and it was like the green faces, the face something,
Some mythical.
some mythical creature that I guess is in the Game of Thrones world.
Mhm.
And so Damon saw it, and but he's I think at this point he's just um resolved that we're gonna see some crazy things whenever we come into these woods. So
Right,
yes, I
right.
see a man with some antlers, and it whether it's folklore or whatever it is, he's like, all right, well, I'm not freaking out because I've seen, yeah.
But they're known to be in the God's woods, I think, or
Hmm.
like they live there and they have magical powers or mythical. It's something about them, but
Hmm.
he does see
Okay. And then Damon sees a ton of different things when he touches the bleeding tree.
that. Hmm.
And we've both agreed that we think that everything that they showed on the screen of his vision is not everything that he saw. We think he probably saw
He
more.
saw more. You can tell that he saw more.
Absolutely. But of the things he saw uh a dead dragon. He saw a lot of
Well,
bodies
no, that
from
was the first
war.
thing he saw. The first thing he saw was the three-eyed raven.
Okay, yes, we saw the blood
Mhm.
raven
Blood
and the
and the
three-eyed
blue-eyed
raven.
raven. Mhm.
Blood raven is a descendant of his.
Mhm.
And he's in the tree, so we know that that was the young three-eyed raven from
Mhm.
Game of Thrones.
Yes.
um, which we're gonna go back to him, but let's keep talking about what we saw. We
Okay.
saw that. We saw the dragons. We saw the bodies in
The
war.
dragons unalived,
Hmm.
which was crazy to see, and all the bodies.
Hmm. We saw
Symbol.
stepping in water, and we saw
Mhm.
him drowning in water. And
And but
then,
what was that? What was that symbolizing though? That because when I first saw it, I
mhm.
didn't. I didn't think that that was his fate. But
Oh, tell
then
me more. Tell me more.
in reading just the different people speaking about the episode and
Hmm.
speaking about, I don't know if it was in the book, but just speaking about the episode, basically it was revealed, and it makes sense to me that what the blood raven was showing him was basically everything that has to come in order for um the Song of Ice and Fire to come to pass, and for uh the prince that was promised, or princess that was promised, to defeat the Night King. And so in showing him that scene with the dragons, with all the people, what I read was that was basically Damon's fate. So that was, showing him where he would meet his end, and like the dragons meeting their end, and then him going into the water, which is what I haven't read the books, but what I've seen people say or read people say is what was said to have happened to him, that he went into the water in battle and was never heard from again. And then now we are at the part where you were saying like he was in the water.
Okay. And then obviously we also see the quintessential portion of this vision, which was Daenerys and the
Yes.
birth of the dragons
Yes.
upon the fire pier
Yes.
and all of that goodness. There's a lot to unpack in there, and you mentioned a little bit, and I don't want to give it away as a spoiler too much, but I'm going to say, okay, we all know that everyone perishes. I'm not
Mhm.
going to say whether it is by war, whether it is by old age, or some mythical things,
We know
or
they
by the
perish
hand
by
of
the
someone else.
time, right? We know they perish by, of
Yeah,
course,
we
by
know everybody
the
does.
time of Daenerys in Game of Thrones when that
Right.
starts. So,
So, but I will say that I do have a theory with regards to um Damon. And
mhm.
we talked a little bit about
We
this.
did, yes. We'll go into
And
get into it. I want us to talk about it.
right. And we kind of have to marry another thing that he saw in his vision was that uh Helena was speaking to him.
Mhm.
And this was interesting to me because and you as well, and I think you came up to me and you told me like you think that Helena, you can go ahead and describe that and then I'll take over with my thoughts.
Well, I because Helena was talking to him, I was thinking, is Helena like the blood raven, or does she have those powers similar to the blood raven? Um because she was talking to him from her balcony all the way, in King's Landing. So does she have something to do? Is she working for the blood raven? Um what is happening? Because it seems like she knows what is to come and what needs to happen. And so when she told him, like, your part, this is just a story, and we all have a part, or something like that, like, your part. Um, that's what I was thinking. Like, either like she's playing a role, and I don't know if it's because she is. I don't know, because I ended up saying I don't think she is the Blood Raven, but maybe she's working just similar to like how Alice Rivers was working with the Blood Raven to get Damon to see what needs to be done.
And okay, and you're passing the baton to me.
Mhm.
Um in the spirit of the Olympics that just is over.
Mhm.
Um anyway, there's something else I want to say about the Olympics that I'll say to you offline.
Okay.
I just got news of it. But nevertheless, yeah, so when you said that, I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a wrong thinking and maybe wrong parallels, but I was like, hmm, the fact that she being Helena spoke to Damon, I'm like, remember when Bran, is that his name, right?
Mhm.
Bran?
Mhm. Mhm.
When Bran and the three-eyed raven in Game of Thrones were talking and he was mentoring him almost, right?
Mhm.
And they would like, I don't know if warg is the right word, but do whatever it does so that they're in another plane.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is almost appears to me what Helena is doing with Damon. And when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if the three-eyed raven is a thing now, but I think that it might be the beginning of the three-eyed raven.
Ooh.
So I'm like, Helena has a sort of power, which I don't know if it's, well, maybe it is. I do think it's the same as what the three-eyed raven had. The three-eyed raven could see the past, the present, and the future, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, and I guess that's where the three eyes come from, the past, present, and the future, right? So I'm like, Helena, we at least know she could see the future. Um, I don't know, and to me, her meeting with Damon, right, through this warging, whatever you want to call it, proved to me that she could see the present,
You can see the
or
present.
at least she could
Different
tap into the
faces.
present, right?
Right.
So I'm like, so then that would only lead us to believe that maybe she can also see the past.
Hmm.
So I do think she is a sort of three-eyed raven. Maybe she's not called the three, because Blood Raven was called Blood Raven because he had a birthmark on his cheek that looked like a raven. That's why he's called the Blood Raven. I'm
Mhm.
even now guessing, like, is he called the three-eyed raven because of his ability to see, and then also just kind of going into that whole Blood Raven name. And it's really interesting, and I really hope we do see it. And I think that um in the a Night of the Seven Kingdoms that's coming up next year. From what I understand, the Blood Raven is going to be seen in that. So I'm really interested to see if there's going to be a lot of overlap between some of
Okay.
this. I'm
Yeah.
even gonna buy the book. I think I want to read it since I'm done with Blood and Fire. Let me go ahead and read The Night of the Seven
This
Kingdoms
book. Right.
by
Okay.
Duncan Egg, all that stuff. So nevertheless, I was like, okay, I think Helena, she might not be called the Three-Eyed Raven, but I think she has that power. And when Alice Rivers said to Damon, "You're ready," in my mind, I was like, ready for what? Ready to see the future, but for what purpose? And
Hmm.
when Helena is brought into that picture, I was like, you know what? I think Helena is passing down the power of the, I'm going to call it the power of the three eyed raven to Damon. And I think of a couple of things. This is a bit telling because, okay, in order for the three-eyed raven to pass down its powers, what has to happen to the three-eyed raven?
He has to.
Or let me just say, not
Oh.
what has to. Let me just say what happened when Bran became the three-eyed raven. He became the three-eyed raven because Bran prematurely, was marked by the Night King.
Yeah.
And then the Night King so knew where he was, and because he knew where he was able to take out the three-eyed raven. But as he, and I'm not really sure what happened, but in taking out the three-eyed raven, Bran then became the three-eyed raven, correct?
Uh. I believe so.
So something
And
like
I think
that.
it's because he knew, because of course we knew the Three Eye Raven knew how he was going to go, so that's why he prepared Bran for it, right?
Say that one more time.
The Three Eyed Raven, because he knows the future, the past, the present, he knew his time was coming up. That's why he prepared Bran to take over.
Well, the thing is, I'm confused a little bit by that. So, we had a couple of things that still have not been clarified, but the the three-eyed raven, I don't think anticipated that Bran would be marked by the Night King. I don't think he saw that in the future.
Oh,
Because he was doing something else. Remember, Bran looked over and he sees him warging. So then he decides to go into the beyond the wall, and he sees, all of these, White Walkers. And then that's when the guy touched him, and the the Night King asked him. He was like, "Did he?" I'm not the Night King. The Three Eyed Raven asked Bran. He said, "Did he touch you?"
right,
And,
right.
and Bran is like, "Oh, he was close." And he was like, "No, he touched you." And so I'm like, I don't think he saw that. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm like, maybe you're not really in the present, but maybe you can see. I don't know. So that's why that was interesting to me to see Helena do that. I'm like, Helena, you are some sort of raven, three-eyed raven. You're a part of this plan. And even though you yourself were not, what's the word? Prepping. Um, you were not prepping Damon. I
Mhm.
kind of wonder now. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, could it be that Helena was Alice Rivers?
Ooh.
I don't know. That's the things. It's a lot of things go through my mind with that. But I'm like, I do believe. Okay, now let me go back to the thing that's a little controversial. And I don't think I'm telling anything because I think you guys have read the spoilers. If you don't want to know any spoilers about what could potentially happen, it might not be season 3, 5, 6, whatever. So I want you to stop listening for 90 seconds. But we've talked about this, and I'm not spoiling anything really, but we talked about this where I said in the book they talk about Daemon and they say that Daemon was never found or something like that.
Mhm.
I was like, there is certain things because I'm like, if Daemon was never, Daemon was the wielder of Dark Sister, which is the sword that he carries. So I'm like, if Daemon, is gone or whatever, I'm like, Blood Raven, I think, was the next wielder of Dark Sister. So my thing is, if Dark Sister was found, and I was thinking this and something else happened that I don't want to tell, so I'm like, okay, let me just run with it, and I might have to correct myself later. But if Dark Sister, if Damon was never found, but Dark Sister was found, and it who gave Dark Sister to Blood Raven? That's what I want to know. How did Blood Raven get it? Because if I'm also not mistaken, I believe that Blood Raven is from the Blackfire house, which is, I guess we can call it a subsect section of the Targaryens, and that Blackfire was a house founded by Targaryen illegitimates.
Hmm.
So Blood Raven, for all intents and purposes, is a descendant of the Targaryens, but he is not from House Targaryen. He is from House Blackfire. I think I'm right on that. I could be wrong. But nevertheless, that makes me feel like Daemon probably was never gone and he just became something else. Going back to what Alice River says about Daemon, she told him when he came into Harrenhal, she said, "You will die here."
Yeah.
And I was like, but you know what? Let's maybe not take that so literally. Maybe it's that the Damon that we know will die, but he's turning into something else. Very
Right.
similar to what the three-eyed raven said to Bran when Bran asked, "Will I ever walk again?" And he said, "No, but you'll fly." And Bran is not literally flying necessarily, but he's warging into, these
Other
animals that
things.
can.
Right. Right.
Right. So I was like, you know what? I'm interested to see what's going to happen to Damon because I don't think we've seen the last of him, even when we think we do. Um. So yeah. Okay. So that is my thought process on all of that. Let's see. Um. Oh, we got to talk about Helena and Amond.
Mhm.
Helena and Amond.
Mhm.
When I was just like, oh my gosh, you were such a freaking Karen. Like, you think tears are gonna move me? Your tears. He comes to Helena at the balcony with tears in his eyes, trying to sound.
He didn't have tears in the beginning.
He looked like he did. He
He did
looked
in
like he
the
was.
end when she told him how he would go. His eyes were welding up, but in the beginning, he tried. This is what he tried to do.
Hmm.
He tried to come a little bit soft. It's funny. Like if you go back and rewatch it, like
Hmm.
look at the first time he came when she was in the room with Allison and how
Mhm.
forceful he was, and then look at how he came to her on the balcony because it was so funny. He tried to come like with a little softer voice, like
Right.
you're I know you have a good heart,
Mhm.
and but come with me or what. He tried to come,
Mhm.
and she was just like, what if I don't? Will you do to me what you did to Aegon? And
Liar. I saw it.
yeah, yeah.
She saw it.
So
I saw you burn him.
mhm.
Or whatever.
Say burn again. Say that again.
She
Say
said,
it
I
on
saw you burn him.
bud. I saw you bud him.
I saw you burn him. I was like, oh my
Uh,
gosh. She
she
caught you red handed.
right. She said you burned him and then you watched him fall. You let him fall. Um yeah,
And
I
yeah,
like
and I guess he low key threatened her in that scene too. He said,
yeah, he
I
said
could
I can
that's
have
treason. I
you.
could have you killed.
Yeah. And she was just like, but you know what? That right there was some those was the hardest words that she said to him. And
Mhm.
it was so simple. It really, I mean, out of context, those words don't mean nothing. But
Mhm.
she said, she was like, it wouldn't change a thing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that right there, I was like, boom. That right there, like even your threats don't mean anything because guess what? It wouldn't change anything.
And
Even
then also she told him you will how did she tell him he would die? He would die in the
you
God's
would die,
eye.
you wouldn't be found, like never to be seen again. You die in the gospel, never to be seen again, or something like that.
And the
That was,
God's eye, so can we do some research?
yeah, yeah.
She
Go ahead.
already said it, so we can do some research. What is the God's eye? So the God's eye is the largest lake in the seven kingdoms, and it is a lake in southern Westeros, south of Harrenhal.
Hmm.
Which okay, in the middle of the lake is the Isle of Faces, which is
Where
the
those
only
things are found, where
which
the things that with the antlers that
uh-huh.
Daemon saw when he walked up on the weirwood tree, that's where they reside.
And it was which is the only place in the south with werewoods.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what that's telling that's foreshadowing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
um she's telling him he's going to die at God's Eye, and God's Eye is located at Harrenhal, so that's letting us know that Aemond is coming to Harrenhal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested to see what will happen and if he would have a similar experience to Damon and Harrenhal. But they need to stop because I cannot deal with another 6 episodes of someone in Harrenhal. Damon was already in Luigi's mansion for 6 of the 8 episodes. I don't know if I could take
Did
seeing.
you say Luigi's Mitch?
Yes, yes, that's what the people are calling Harrenhal, Luigi's mansion. I'm like, I just don't know if I can take that again. But I guess it will might be interesting if Harrenhal is a place that is humbling people. I think I am and would be interested in seeing what it does to Aemon. But let's just see it for maybe 2, 3 episodes, guys. Like I don't want another Damon part 2.
Well, we know there's not going to be much of that. It's just going to be fighting, right?
I don't know because there's a lot of fighting that they didn't fight. This season didn't have but one fight. And there are I already told you there's like in the entire book before like major battles, I'm thinking there are between 4 and 6 and we only saw one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the season 3 is going to be majority them fighting. They're gearing up to fight. It's not going to be. I think when he gets to Harrenhal, it isn't going to be a let me come and sit with you and have dinner like Damon did. There's not going to be enough time for that. Like when they come, they're going to be right for that for battle. Because we saw Damon walking outside at the end of this. We haven't
Mhm.
gotten there yet, but we see where everybody is. So if he comes there, um, we'll just see. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And I want to see story too. So honestly I know we love to see the battles and everything. But I am looking forward to seeing story. I don't want to just see battling. Like, what is
Right.
the story that's being told?
Like, will he
Um,
have visions while he's there? Like, he won't be at
mhm.
Harrenhal, but he'll be near, and he'll be
Who?
near like Aemon. So will we get like him out in the camp, and he starts to have visions and things like
Wait. Why do we think Amond won't be in Harrenhal?
that? Because I think they're going to be fighting, and I don't think Aemon at this
Oh, I
point,
see.
with Damon being there, and then Harrenhal, pretty much kind of being like on Rhaenyra's side. I don't see him just showing up and just treating with them, So I don't know, but
Okay, I was gonna say something, but I don't want to give it away, so let us move on. um, let us move on. This is this is the notes that I wrote down. I said Caraxi sees his wife,
Who?
Cyrax.
Oh, so,
We see
oh,
Cyrax. We see Sea Smoke. And I loved how we have Queen Rhaenyra getting off on Cyrax, and then we have Sea Smoke circling the skies. He's
yeah,
like, and I'm like, Adam, I love you so much. Like, you have learned your dragon enough for the queen to bring you and to trust that you are going to be keeping her safe while she goes down and talks to the small folk. I
right.
just loved that. That just meant so much to me to have
Can
seen
we
that.
just talk about, though? I know you just like glanced over it a little bit, but can we talk about how hilarious it is that Damon had that doggone dragon just sitting around bored for like
But you know
months?
what? I wonder if Caraxes saw anything. I mean, I know these are animals, guys, so I know. But I'm also like, I wonder if like Caraxes, was he next to werewood trees and was he seeing anything? Is that
I
just
don't
a human
know,
thing?
but when they pulled up, Caraxes was laying around like this mother
And
effer and had me sitting over here, like he
he
literally
looked
was
up and
just
he's like,
like
action, action.
he's sitting up like, dang, who waking me up? I just
Mhm.
been stuck over here in this haunted house, all this time, this haunted castle, this whole time. He hadn't gotten on me since we got here. And yeah. Uh, I thought that
Yeah,
was hilarious, just seeing that scene with Caraxes just being woken up like he just done got the most sleep he done got in the
I
last
know. He's
how
rested.
long?
He's just eating his pigs.
His pig.
He's just living the life until someone says train to go.
Right.
So he's just waiting for the time. Yeah, so I just thought that then Sir Simon, he greets Queen Rhaenyra, and
It's tea
Rhaenyra
time.
lets
He came with the
her,
tea.
yes, she lets her presence be known, and to see Daemon not put up a fight, and he bends the knee, and so does everyone
Quickly.
else,
Bends the knee quickly.
quickly, and gets
He
everyone
tells her
else,
though too.
huh?
They speak in Valerian, but he pretty
Yeah.
much tells her that he sees everything. He's seen it. He's seen what's going to happen.
Mhm.
He's seen the ice and fire. He's seen what is to come, and the only way that things can be in order is if she is on the throne.
And can we talk about the ice and fire? Because does he say something? Because I did see her face that kind of, to me, because remember in season one, she was like the song of ice and fire, and he was like, what the f is that, basically?
Yeah, yeah,
And so he didn't know. I can't remember if he said something that let her, like a trigger word or something that let her know that he knows the song.
right. Because he said that like what's to come. He mentioned
Mm,
I can't think of the words, but he did. To answer your question, yes, he did say
okay.
it because she said you sound like my father.
You're right.
Because yeah, he did say it. So he was able to see, and he said it. He said, I saw everything. I saw it. And
Hmm.
so yeah, I love that they were speaking in Valerian too. And I
I
love
love when they speak. I loved seeing, yeah, I love when
when
they
she
seeing
said,
the chemistry
you leave
between
me
them.
again. What did she say? At your
He
peril.
said, "Yeah, at your parent." He said, "I won't believe me. I've tried," or something along those lines. But
Oh,
I loved when it was very almost reminiscent when I'm seeing the people bend the knee, and I'm seeing like Damon and the guys just kind of rah rah. It reminded me so much of when they named Rob King of the. Sorry guys, another spoiler, but King of the North, King of the North. Like it just kind of reminded me a little bit of that, and I
mhm.
was just like, oh, Rhaenyra, like instead of like six people to bend the knee like the last time when you were crowned on Dragonstone, I'm like, you have more people bending the
You have
knee to
all of these
you.
people, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Sir Alfred, when they were all cheering and everything, girl, he ran to the
He
back.
scooted out. He scooted on out of there because he knows. Oh, baby, your head is at stake.
Hmm.
Your head is at stake, or
And I
it's gonna be at
wonder
stake.
if, well, I don't know. Yeah, his cards are shown. So I don't know which house he's from, but he might need to go back to his house. because Damon is not, unless he thinks Damon is up to treachery. But I'm like, I don't. Damon has
No, he
always
ran
been,
too fast for that.
yeah, you're right, you're right. And even though Damon is, the rogue prince is what we call him, I don't know if, and correct me if I'm wrong, if Damon has like broken his oath. Oaths are really important in Westeros, and I'm like, I know he's like really just put his brother through the ringer, but I'm like, I don't, and to the point where I think sometimes people would question his loyalty, but I
Hmm.
feel like he was always the person who he told the line and would sometimes cross it, but he would always come back. And
Yeah,
so I'm like, for him to like, bend the knee to Rhaenyra, and even to the guy saying, I never, took you as a turncloak. I'm wondering if that's going to be on Damon's mind, or if he's just going to be like, well, it doesn't even matter because whatever is going to happen is going to happen, like
right.
Helena said. Um, okay, so anything else you want to say about that? Or have we covered it?
Um, no, nothing
Okay.
else. Yeah.
The last thing, I guess, not the last, a couple of more things to talk about. I wanted to go onto the scene of, I listed it as Alan basically tells his,
Daddy.
yeah, his, yeah, he tells him off.
He tells his deadbeat father
Hmm.
about how his absence affected him and his brother,
Hmm.
and basically like, don't try to come around here now that everybody is like, all of your kids that you treasured, and like, now that they're all gone, now you're trying to come around here and like be all in our faces and
Right.
really try to uplift us now when we've gone through so much.
And that's so sad because I'm like, man, he really is a deadbeat, because I think of someone like Ned Stark, and I'm like, Ned Stark took Jon Snow in, and I know the story, guys, but let's just go with it. No spoilers here. But Ned Stark took Jon Snow in, and when he took Jon Snow in, like, this is his son, right? And he's
Mhm.
raising him with his children. I'm like, why couldn't you, or even let me even go as far as to Roose Bolton. He took Ramsey, right?
Yep,
Remember, he was
took
like,
him in.
huh?
Yep, he did.
Yeah. So I was like, what is the problem? These are your children, and you couldn't raise them in the castle. You couldn't like. I understand. Like, even in the book, they say that Rhaenys, Targaryens are hot blooded, so she has a temper, and she would have never allowed that to happen. But obviously, we saw on the show that maybe obviously that would have changed. But I'm like, I don't understand how you create children, you sire children, like Alan said, you sire him, and you don't make sure that these people are okay,
Are
even if
taken
they're
care of, right.
right, even if they're not living under your roof, because your wife is not going to appreciate that. Okay, cool. But I'm like, you couldn't make sure that they weren't living in squalor. You couldn't make sure that they were like housed well. You had enough money to do that. And
Mhm.
you have enough money to do that, and your wife doesn't question it or know it.
That's so sad too when he was saying like, we were literally almost starving and
Mhm.
freezing, and you walking by with your son, like just picking from the finest of everything, not
Mhm.
paying attention or giving a care in the world. That's horrible.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, these people are starving. That really, he kept talking about sweet meats. I had to look up sweet meats because I was like, what the heck is a sweet meat? Apparently, it's another word for candy. Um, so he's like, I guess while your kids are able to have their meal and go out for dessert, we couldn't even get scraps
We
of anything.
starving,
Yeah.
barely
And
eat.
so, yeah, so I actually really appreciated that scene. And I was watching, the director's cut, and they were talking about like no one talks to Lord Corlys like that except for maybe Rhaenys. And I'm gonna put Baela in there too, because Baela told him a little bit. And so I'm appreciating these people coming and telling him like it is. You are nothing without your family, and he knows that now. And I'm like, I understand, and it's unfortunate that you have to wait until you lose everyone to go ahead and go to the ones that were non-existent to you.
That
So
you ignored.
right, absolutely. And so that was a powerful scene. I'm sure that we talked about this already. I'm sure that could resonate with people in the real world. Um, And yeah, it was really sad, and I'm really glad that he was
He
able to say
confronted
that.
him about that and put him in his place. Because
Absolutely.
it was almost like it seemed like Corliss was kind of smelling himself a little bit and kind of like,
Mm,
oh, I'm trying to help you. I'm doing something for you. And it's like, hold up, bruh. Like, it's almost like he had to say, hold up,
mhm.
helping me. Like, we're grown. You know, like the time when you could have helped, that's past. Like,
Mhm.
now I'm just set on doing what I need to do and being, a good ship hand or whatever he's trying to do. Like, I don't owe you anything. And I love that. I love that he stood up to his dad in that way of like, I'll do what I need to do because that's the type of person I am, but don't think I owe you anything.
Right.
Like, you never looked at me as your son. You've never treated me like a son. So now that you are sonless, with the son that you appreciated and took care of, don't try to come around now all of a sudden and act like we're your sons now because all of your family is gone. So I
Absolutely.
like that. I love that part of the show because he really was like, I'm trying to help you. That's what Cordelia said. I'm like, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to do this and do that. And it's like you're trying to put something on these men that they didn't ask for. I mean, at least for Alan, because we know Adam kind of did because he was more ambitious. But Alan, he's good with just cleaning the boats and doing whatever. Like, and now you're trying to like pretty much set him up to be heir, and it's like he's like, no,
Mhm.
you treated me. I was treated like a peasant. We were treated like peasants our whole life. You're not even caring about if your children eat,
Mhm.
if they're fed. Imagine how horrible that is to see your father and know that he doesn't care if you live or die.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
And yeah. And I really wish we could see the mother, but I guess the mother is non-existent, but she's in the book. She is, if I'm not mistaken, alive and well. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen more, but I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. They want us. We've a lot of things have been confirmed already. I'm gonna go to this one last scene that there's not much to talk about. But we see well before we get to the real last scene, which is Rhaenyra and Allison
Hmm.
speaking. But before that, we see Rhaena. She sees a sheep stealer, and sheep stealer sees her.
Well, no, that's not the last
That
one. That's
wasn't.
at the very end. No, she sees him flying, and then she starts trying to run to him. And
Oh,
then,
I'm talking about when they actually see each other when
oh,
he's
so that
leading a
was at the
sheep.
very end when
Yeah.
the show was about to go off, when
Mhm. Mhm.
everybody was getting ready for battle and like
Mhm.
marching towards where they were gonna go. That's when they see each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They see each other.
Okay. Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Right, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Um, okay, when I loved seeing Sheep Stealer. I felt like Sheep Stealer looks like what he or she has experienced.
He looks like what he's been
Yes,
through.
he looks
Like
like what he's been
the
through.
opposite of that saying, I don't look like what I've been through.
Mhm.
She still looks like what
He
she
does.
still looks
She
like a
does. Whatever. I don't know
he
if it's
looks
male or female, but it looks like what it's been through.
he looked like he got alopecia. He looked like he'd been on some
Mhm.
some kind of drugs.
But
Like
you
he
know what's
looked
so funny? Sheep Stealer looks like Raina, and Raina looks like Sheep Stealer. She's been
at
out
that moment,
at
right?
that moment. At that moment, she's
That
been
both
through a
was
lot,
wild.
right?
Oh,
She hasn't eaten anything. She's probably hungry, and she's probably
yeah.
trying to steal some sheep to eat too. So I
That is
thought that
so
was interesting.
accurate. I didn't
So
even think of it like that, but they do kind of
they
because
do, and so
she looks
right,
wild.
and so I wonder if that's what's going to make Sheep Stealer choose Raina because it's
Right.
like twin, where have you been? Type thing.
Y'all both look rode hard and put away wet.
Right? Like, yeah, this is us.
Woo.
All right, come on now. Let's both help each other at this
Let's help
point.
each other because we both looking like we had a
Mhm.
rough life.
Mhm.
Oh my
That's what
goodness.
I thought.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, sheep stealer looks like, and I think it was even raining. I think I remember it was raining on Raina. I don't think I'm making that up. I think I did see rain, and I'm like, dang, that's why
He
they
was
both look
pretty.
wretched.
She
So,
was
yeah, so I
dirty.
thought great scene. I almost wish there was more, obviously, but I honestly don't
Not
even
gonna
think
show
they're
it.
not going to show Sheep Stealer claiming her. I feel like it's going to be
What? They
I don't think
better.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be one of those things where we're going to see Reyna fly up to Dragonstone and Rhaenyra is going to be like, "Why are you here?"
Where's my children? Like for
Right.
real. I
Um
wonder if she gonna get in trouble for that
me
because
too. That's what I'm thinking.
I would be pissed off if I was
Yeah. She entrusted you with her children and she entrusted you with the legacy of the dynasty. So my question is, who did Reina entrust those with?
she didn't. She just left. She just
Right.
took off.
And that pisses me off because I'm like, girl, you understood the gravity of the situation when you saw the three
But
dragon eggs.
you so thirsty for a dragon that you
Right.
just what?
And even though they need you, right, the more the merrier. But I'm also like, well, I'm still wondering where are okay, so we talked about this a little bit, but in the books doesn't, in my opinion, state that the dragon eggs that well, I don't even think we knew that Rhaenyra gave Rhaena dragon eggs. And I'm a little bit iffy about what happened in that situation, but let's keep moving. The reason why I say that is because um there is another character who was friends with one of King Jaehaerys's children, daughters, I think, and she ended up stealing it might have been 3, it could have been 1. I think it was 3 though. She stole dragon 3 dragon eggs and left. And she sold them to buy a ship and to do all of these things. So the eggs that Daenerys got, I thought were the dragon eggs that were stolen. Like when I read it in the book, I was like, "Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful." Like the stolen dragon eggs that the lady sold to get this boat so she could travel the world, it came back to Daenerys in that way. But I'm like, now we're seeing it, and basically the showrunners are telling us that the dragon eggs that Rhaenyra gave to Rhaena were the dragon eggs that Daenerys got. But I'm like, how?
Because they're going if they're going over to Pentos or over where we think they were supposed to be going with the kids. That's not too far from where Daenerys gets
Well,
the eggs,
and
right?
and so I
With the
believe that a
Dothraki,
little bit
right?
more.
When she was with the Dothraki over there.
Right, I think so. But I'm also saying the woman who stole the eggs, I think she sold it to the Pentoshi
Okay.
or whomever. So I'm like, which one is it, guys? I feel like Spider-Man, the Spider-Man meme. But I'm also like, okay, well, it makes more sense for the 3 because it was 3 eggs, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it almost makes more sense that the 3 eggs, girl, I don't know. Let me just say, like I told you, I read the book, but like I don't really know. Like, yeah. Okay, so okay, we talked about Raina and Sheep Stealer enough. Okay, so we go to the final scene, which is where Alicent negotiates the crown and her son to Rhaenyra.
I just
Uh,
love how Rhaenyra was reading Alicent her rights,
absolutely, absolutely.
calling her just this, oh, you wear what did she say? You wear this like you're something, like
Like your banner. She
your
said
banner.
you wore basically you wore your chastity as a bit as
Yeah.
your banner.
Ooh, lover. When she said lover, she's like, oh, you
Hmm.
have a lover? Like,
But hold up, but did you see how she didn't tell her who it was?
of course she didn't.
Why not? If you're gonna tell it all. That's what
I don't
Usher
even
said.
think that's even important at this point.
It's not, but I think honestly, even if she did, I wonder what Rhaenyra's response would be because you taking my sloppy seconds. And I don't think to this day Rhaenyra knew that Christian Cole told Alicent what they did.
Do we really even know that Rhaenyra knows how much Kristen Cole hates her? Like,
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'm sure she knows that he kind of has a distaste for her, or he has a whatever, but we don't even see any interaction from them since season one. Like, really, in season one, we don't see any interaction between the two of them after like she rejects him on that boat. So does she even know? She probably is not even thinking about that man to even
Yeah.
care. That's why I say, like, I don't think it even matters. That's why the fact that she has a lover though, and I love that Rhaenyra was like, you started all of this. You're
Mhm.
trying to run away, and run off like
That actually pissed me off that
dialogue.
she did that. I'm like, for the second time, somebody is asking Rhaenyra to run away and denounce her birthright. I'm like, you guys, please leave this woman alone.
Y'all know she can't do that. And it's like, this is the thing. I said it. I did. I did. I probably didn't say it in this way, but I said Allison and Kristen Cole, they share a hatred for Rhaenyra, but deep down, both of them want her.
Mm.
Because they hate her because she rejected them in a certain in one way or another. Like I feel like Allison always loved her, and that's why, deep down she's just like, come with me, like, because deep down I think she loves her, and that it's a thin line between love and hate.
Hmm.
And I said it. I was like, they really, like, they come together for their shared hate of this one person.
Absolutely.
And it's like, but deep down, y'all really her biggest fans because you hate
Absolutely.
her. But I love that, like, Rhaenyra was just reading her up and down and telling her, like, you don't get to, like, just run away, run off, and thinking that you can just have everything that you want, thinking that, like, I'm supposed to just not take the head of your son whom you named as king. No, you're gonna have to choose.
Hmm.
I loved it. Cause
I
she's
just
still so selfish. Like, even in that scene, I was just like, she's still selfish. You're still trying to, like, weasel your way out of, like, something.
absolutely, like, you don't want to sacrifice anything, and you want to get what it is you want. And so we've got to understand also the importance of Rhaenyra to actually be seen as the new ruler.
Hmm.
Remember, she said, what I have to do is I have to
Take
take
his
them
head.
out.
Hmm.
And as we see, that at least in the near future is not happening,
It's not. Neither of
because
them know this though, but nope, it's not. Neither of them know,
right.
especially not Allison, because I feel like, honestly, to her credit, if Allison would have known, I feel like she wouldn't have risked her life going to Rhaenyra.
Mm,
If she would have
mm,
known, she wouldn't have risked her life going to Rhaenyra. Because if her son finds out, Aemon finds out, she could possibly be unalived because he's going
I
to
don't,
consider her a traitor.
but do you think she even cares?
I don't think she cares at
I
this
don't think she
this point,
cares.
but I don't think she would risk it to not, like, to go over there with idle whatever, to not have something that could possibly just end everything.
Hmm.
Because at this point, I feel like she's trying to protect Helena.
Hmm.
If nobody else, she's trying to protect Helena and
I
herself
agree.
and herself.
I agree.
She's very selfish, self righteous. So she's trying to protect herself and Helena at this point.
Okay, so that is all on my list of things to talk about. I guess to wrap up the season, which has been, I really enjoyed talking to you about this, and hopefully we can continue the series into 2026. Oh, yeah, in 2026. But I guess, what are some of the things you're looking forward to seeing in the upcoming season?
I'm looking forward to seeing the battle scenes. I'm looking forward to seeing the dance of the dragons. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing them team up on Vagar. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully, I know you mentioned it and you said that they wouldn't show it, but I'm looking forward to seeing Raina claim sheep stealer. I
Hmm.
would love to see that. I would, even if, like, I would just love to see how that goes. Um what else am I looking forward to? Looking forward to the battle scenes. Um I'm looking forward to Chris and Cole being annihilated, like he said. They're walking into their annihilation. I'm looking forward to that. Um I think that's it for now. I want to see, and I know, well, I don't know. I don't know, but I know it's coming. I want to see Daemon and Aemon. I can't wait to see that scene together. I want to see them fight.
Okay.
I
Okay.
want to see it.
Um,
What about you?
goodness. I did say I think this is the season that is going to deviate vastly from the books. Um, I think this obviously not. I think we know this is we're going to see Reyna officially become Nettles, like the Nettles character, and that changes things a lot. In
I'm
more
gonna
than
read the
one
book.
way. Yeah,
I'm gonna.
you're going to read the book and you're going to see how and what I mean. Okay, and that's what we could do for the next year and a half, 2 years before the show comes back on. In the meantime, I'm actually interested in seeing. I'm happy that they gave us something in 2025 so that we don't
Yeah.
have to wait so long
Right. Right.
for them to come
Right.
back. So I will be watching A Night of Seven Kingdoms,
Me too. Me
and
too.
while I wait for 2025, I'm gonna purchase the book on Kindle and read it as well.
So we're gonna do
But
that.
I'm interested in seeing. I really do. I know a lot of people complained about this season, and I understand. I do hope they give us 10 episodes.
Me too. Me too.
We need that. I think that the more episodes are really good for story development, and I think that you're not getting the viewership. I don't know if they're getting the viewership actually, but if they're not, I think it's because you're not investing in the way that you need to. You're going to get it. People are going to watch it. But I
Right.
think you need to allow the showrunners to do what they do best, and that's telling the story. And I really do like the actors. I think every single actor on the show, I think, does a fantastic job. I think they have great
Mhm.
chemistry.
Yes.
And I'm just interested to see them. I'm interested to see Daron. I think we talked about it offline, but you let us know.
Oh, we didn't even
Mhm.
mention that in the
Yeah.
closing
Mhm.
scenes. We saw him. We saw
Mhm.
the dragon because I was like, that dragon's purple. I just really noticed it this morning though when I rewatched it. I was like, that's a purple dragon. And
Mhm.
I rewound and I paid attention to the banners and I'm like, is that Old Town? Are those high towers? If those
Mhm.
are high towers, that's a purple. That means that could possibly be Darren because we haven't seen a purple dragon. And
Mhm.
what other dragon would that be, right? And so yeah, I was like, oh wow, that's I think that's Darren.
And I think Darren's dragon spits a blue fire.
Ooh, like
So,
the Night King did with Viserion with the blue fire.
ooh, I didn't think of that. But yeah, apparently blue fire is supposed to be like, everyone keeps talking about his dragon being small and he's just not just hatched, but he just took flight. We
Hmm.
like that thing might be something to not something to play with
It
because
was pretty
that
too. It
fire
was
burned hot.
purple. It was
Yeah.
pretty. If you like that dragon was really pretty. It was purple or it looked purple.
I
Maybe
gotta
it's
look.
my
I
eyes.
gotta watch again because I was a little distracted, so I gotta watch it
Yeah.
again.
And it's a short scene. It's just them walking. They were showing us little small scenes of everybody, all the different houses walking,
Hmm.
and it was just that scene and that dragon. And when it was flying by, I'm like, that dragon is purple. Oh, we didn't talk about Hightower Otto.
Oh, I
Where is
forgot. Yes,
he?
we saw. Okay, this is another thing that they changed in the book. So in the book, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I thought it was Otto who was negotiating with the Triarchy and
And not
not.
Thailand.
Yeah, I could be wrong though. So, but I'm almost positive it was Otto.
Hmm. Interesting. I want to know who has him. Whose dungeon is he in?
Yeah.
Whose jail cell is he in, and why? Is he a captive? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think so. Again, this is deviating from the books as well. I think it only makes sense that this is Laris is doing.
Hmm.
And I know I was reading some comments and people were agreeing that it was Laris, but other people were like, give me another give me another reason. And so, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe after they took out Lord Beesbury, or in the this is right after King Viserys passed,
Hmm.
didn't they say Old Town and the House Beesbury were fighting, or House Beesbury
Yes,
was taking up arms?
I do recall them saying that the how high towers and another house, we're at odds with each other and we're fighting, and that's why Otto was kind of like away and wasn't getting the messages that they were sending to him and was
Mm-hmm.
not responding. It's because, he was, in the thralls of fighting off this other house. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
which house. I can't remember which house, but yeah, I do think that.
So I'm thinking it could be House Beesbury, right? Because it could be. The only reason why I'm saying it could be because I'm like, does it make sense for Laris to have taken Otto hostage before he reached Old Town? Why would he do that?
Right.
Especially if he was the one who was trying to be Hand,
Yeah.
and after Aegon dismissed him, I'm just trying to think, how does that make sense? I could see House Beesbury holding on to him, and they caught wind of him, they see him, they take him as
Hmm.
hostage and don't tell anyone.
Right. And send him to Rhaenyra.
Yeah, and send him to I
Well,
don't think he's sending him to Rhaenyra. Well, I don't even know if they would send him to Rhaenyra, because I think they would probably want to take vengeance on their own and want to take
oh,
that vengeance on their own versus giving them to the queen for what?
yeah, you're right.
But I'm also like, it doesn't make sense. So it might be Laris, because maybe Laris had the foresight to, maybe he took him because he's like, he already knew House Beesbury wanted him, and maybe maybe he's taking Otto Hightower as leverage. I don't know how. I don't know if it's Otto Hightower. This is going to be interesting because I'm thinking, I don't know if it's Laris, because if I'm Laris, why would he want to bring him back into the fold when it doesn't benefit him to have Otto in the fold, because he tends to take second chair
Yeah.
to Otto. So the only thing I could think of is he's Laris knows everything. So maybe he was holding him and was like, look, you could either work with us or I could release you to the Beesburys. I don't know, but I also don't see what he's working with them, like what that would
What
do
would he be
necessarily.
doing? Like, why would he be doing it? Yeah.
Uh And then I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking like if Otto Hightower obviously is back in the mix, like he couldn't control Aegon, and now we know he will not be able to control Aemon. So what is his purpose? I don't know. I don't know. That is really
Neither.
interesting, and I'm glad you brought that back up. Who has Otto?
Who has Otto? Where is Otto?
But Otto didn't. He didn't appear to be in chains or anything.
I mean, he looked bad though. He didn't look good.
But
He
he
didn't
didn't
look
look.
in good
But he
shape.
didn't look his worst. Like I'm like I've seen people worse who were left in like dungeons. He looked like he was not necessarily in a dungeon, but he, someone is hiding him or holding him.
Ooh, so you know what it could be, Laris, because he doesn't want him. He didn't. He wouldn't have wanted him to get back to Aemon to be his hand, to be
Okay.
his counsel, to give
Okay.
him good counsel. He would want Aemon to be able to self implode and not have counsel and kind of like just do his own self in. So I
Mhm.
don't know, because Aemon will be stronger with Otto as his hand or as his advisor.
Mhm.
So I could kind of see how Laris wouldn't want that, because we see that Laris is trying to work Aegon as best he can, to get Aegon back on the throne, because that's his only way of being,
Mhm.
someone of influence, and that's the closest to power that he's going to get is with Aegon. So
Absolutely. This is going to be interesting. I do think that it could potentially be like Game of Thrones. Some people, which I didn't agree with, but some people said season 1 and season 2 were slow.
they were slow. Like the season one was slow, definitely. Up until
Season
around,
episode 9.
yeah,
I
up
mean,
until like towards the end.
right.
Um, so yeah, I agree. Uh,
But I'm like, that season 3 and that season 4, they were perfection. Like
mhm.
I literally, like I told you, I was rewatching Game of Thrones again. And when I was watching season 3, I was like, oh my God, like every episode was a hit. And so I'm hoping House
that
of the
is
Dragon will be the
releasing.
same.
Right, it's the same. And I
Hmm.
think I'm hoping that it does, just because we will see more battle scenes. We will be able to see that there will be more cliffhangers, because, or possibilities for cliffhangers, because we know people have to get up out of here. We know, like, once the dragons do start dancing and like battle starts coming,
Hmm.
that more and more people that we love are going to start like leaving. And so it's going to make it more like, oh my gosh, we only had like one scene, one episode like that was pretty good, when we lost Rhaenys, when
Hmm.
we got to see the dragons fight. So we're going to see more of that in season 3. So I do think it's probably going to be picking up a lot more. Um, and I can't wait.
I cannot wait as well. I'm super excited. But in the meantime, I'm gonna start reading. I was gonna put on Threads. You guys don't forget to follow on all platforms. We gave a lot of well, listen, I say we because I definitely bounce off of a lot of people, including you, Mrs. Damon Targaryen. But follow me on all platforms. Then the Navigator on Twitter, Instagram. Actually, I'm not None of the Navigator on Twitter. Sorry, on Threads, and Instagram and YouTube for more theories, more recommendations, and hopefully more videos on this too. Maybe that's what we'll kind of do is once you're done reading the book, we'll kind of resume certain theories that we do have, and we'll let you guys know the spoilers are probably going to be towards the end, so then you're able to watch without any anxiety or hesitation. So thank you everyone for joining us on this journey, and we will see you again. We're going to start this up next year, and again, maybe other things will be coming along. We'll make sure to post more. So I know I haven't posted, you guys. Life is happening. Life is lifing, but we'll try our best to be a little more on schedule. But we are definitely going to be, hopefully, talking about the Night of Seven Kingdoms when that comes out next year. All right. Thanks you for joining us. Have a good one.
Bye.